What's going on, guys? Crush back here with another video. Hope everyone's had a great day today. And I got another coworker story that I think you guys will find very entertaining. It's pretty funny. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So it's been a while since I did a coworker story. I'd say the last one I heard was probably a couple months ago, but that was because I haven't really been working with them. There's been like some weird stuff going on with my job where like we just have different hours and stuff like that. But recently, aka the other day, we actually got reconnected at one of our shifts because, you know, we were working the same shift that day. And we were talking a little bit, and he told me this one really bad story, which you probably shouldn't be telling anyone because it seems pretty embarrassing, but I normally wouldn't share. And real quick, I normally wouldn't be sharing these types of stories if it was just one-on-one, you know. And he was like, don't tell anyone, because that's kind of a dick move, you know what I mean, even if he's a moron. But considering the fact that he tells his other job, which is a lot of people that he doesn't really know that well, and considering he tells even our boss some of this stuff and other people, I think it's only fair that everyone should know, at least on my YouTube channel. But yeah, getting into the story, we were just talking about like how our Thanksgivings went and all that, because Thanksgiving was, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago now. And he was telling me he had a good Thanksgiving, but then he told me like, oh, by the way, I had another drunk story that I need to tell you about. This is so important. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear this. And first of all, before I get right into the drunk story, I think it's a little obvious. Well, maybe it's not super obvious depending on how many of these stories I've uploaded, because I upload them in no particular order. But he kind of has an alcohol problem. He probably should go to rehab for this, but he's very prideful of himself and he thinks that he doesn't have a problem, which, hey, you're a red-blooded American, you do you, you know what I mean. And like alcohol, like everyone drinks alcohol. But this dude, when you spend $400 a month on alcohol for yourself, yeah, I think you might have a little bit of a problem, buddy. But with that being said, let's actually get into the story. So he was telling me one day he was drinking and getting really drunk one night because, I don't know, he just was getting drunk. He's doing his thing, you know. And then he walks upstairs and he and his mom were talking. And, yeah, he's about 33 years old and he still lives with his parents, which I'm not shaming him for that, but, moving on. He walks up the stairs and he starts talking to his mom, and he's heavily intoxicated, and he and she get into like a heated argument about something, and then she's like, whatever, and by the way, you need a haircut, your hair is getting long and it looks kind of messy and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but for some reason when he's drunk, I guess he kind of gets in like a weird mindset where everything's backwards. It's kind of like opposite day. So when she said you need a haircut, he thought that she literally meant right this second, not in the future, right now. It cannot wait. You need to do this right this very second. So what does he do? He goes to the bathroom and he gets one of those razors that you shave your face with that has like the little extender on it. I don't know if it's called an extender, but it's like the barber uses like the shaver or the razor. I don't know how to describe it. I'll put a picture of what I'm talking about in the video, but he starts shaving off half of his head. He starts shaving off the left side of his head, and he just like cutting it in a weird type of way where he looks like a goddamn zebra. And I was talking to him about it, and I'm like, dude, what were you thinking? And he's like, I was drunk. And I mean, I can understand that, but like, dude, I've been pretty intoxicated before, and I've been like up and down many times and not knowing where I'm going and all that, and even blacking out and being like, hey guys, what happened that day? And I can't remember anything. And, you know, being stupid. But he has so little common sense that he just starts shaving himself, trying to look like the freaking zebra from Madagascar. And yeah, after he's done his quote-unquote hair job, as he likes to call it, he literally does look like a zebra on one end, and on the other end, his hair looks perfectly normal. He kind of looks like a dykey emo kid, honestly. Or an emo kid that like shaves off half their head and then the other half has hair. It just looks very bad altogether. And then he thinks he does and he thinks he did a great job. He's like, yeah, I did such a good job with this. And he's like looking in the mirror, he's like, yeah, you look pretty sexy today, don't you? And then what better way to celebrate a quote-unquote terrible hair job? Well, I'm kidding. He thought it was a good hair job, but I'm calling it a terrible hair job because obviously it was. in the bathtub drinking. He starts going in the bathtub. He's like, yeah, fuck a recliner. I'm gonna just drink in the bathtub because, you know, we're switching up everything today. We're switching up my haircut. We're switching up where I'm gonna start drinking and all that. And yeah, he's drinking more and more in the bathtub. And then he's not even wearing many clothes, by the way. He's wearing his underwear all over the place. Which, by the way, if you're 33, I'm 23. No, not 23. I'm 22 right now, and I still live with my family. And if I was walking around in my underwear only in my house, my family would not be very happy. They'd probably be like, put some clothes on. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hell, I think that if I were in public as well with complete strangers and even with girls that find me attractive, they would probably want to see me with clothes on. Not calling me ugly or anything, but I'm just saying, if I'm gonna be real, that's probably what they'd be thinking. But anyway, enough about me. Let's keep moving on with the story. So yeah, after he's done drinking, he leaves the bathroom and then he goes out. This part's kind of serious and it's kind of messed up, but like he goes outside in his underwear and it's really cold out. It's like 30 degrees outside. I don't know what he's doing. Not wearing any shoes or anything. And he left his pocket knife out in his car. So he's walking down his driveway, which it's not that far. I don't think it's like, I don't know, like 100 feet or so. It's not very far, like I just said. He goes in his car, gets a pocket knife, goes back inside, and then he and his dad start talking, and he tells his dad about his haircut, and he's like, how does it look? And he's like, what the hell did you just do? He's like, what the fuck is that horrendous piece of shit? And then my coworker gets like super offended, and he's like trying to act all gangster and all that shit. He's like, what'd you say? You trying to say that again? And then he pulls the knife out, which he doesn't even unveil the blade. He's just like flexing it, trying to act like a big bad gangster or some shit like that, which this dude's not a gangster by any means. This dude's the type of guy that's going to get robbed and a target all the time by gang members. But anyway, he's like acting all big and bad. He's like, you want to say that again when I got this knife, man? And that's kind of how he talks. And then his dad's just like arguing with him a little bit. He's like, you better put that away. What are you doing with all that? I just said you have a trashy haircut and you're intoxicated. Get out of here. And that's pretty much what's going on. And then eventually, like, it dies down. And then his mom, is just like, what are you doing out there? Why are you arguing with your dad? You better not have pulled a knife out. And he's saying something like, I pulled a knife out because he said my haircut was really bad and I did a good job on it. I worked hard on it. And he's speaking just complete gibberish. And then he walks in the kitchen where his mom is and trying to get dinner from her or something. Because it's not even that late, by the way. It's like 7 o'clock or whatever. And he's already like near blackout drunk. And his mom isn't looking at him. She's like making dinner, I guess, for their family. And then she's just like, you better watch your mouth with you and with how you talk to me and your father, because that's very disrespectful. And then my coworker's just like, hey man, if you don't like it, you shouldn't be insulting my haircut. And she's like, what are you talking about? The haircut's supposed to be sometime next week or in the next few days. What does that have to do with anything? Why are you talking about a haircut? And the way she said it, she was assuming he was talking about a haircut in the future. But then he's just like, hey man, no, I got the haircut right now. And then she's like, what? How'd you get a haircut right now? We're in the house. Then she proceeds to look at him. And then he starts flexing it. He's like, hey, look at my amazing haircut. And then she just looks at zebra ass and she's just starting to freak out. She's like, oh my God. And then she's like freaking out. She's like, what did you do? And then he's like, hey man, I worked so hard on it, fuck you. And then he proceeds to walk away. And then I guess she made him upset or whatever, so he goes back in the bathtub and starts drinking even more until he starts passing out in the bathtub. And I don't know how much this dude drank. He drank a whole bunch of beer, and I think he drank like a pint of Jack Daniels, which, trust me, that will get you. That will get you. Anyone that knows and drinks that understands what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyway, he ends up waking up in the bathtub at 11 o'clock in that, not afternoon, but in the morning. And he has to go to work in a couple hours, and he's like severely hungover and all that. But I mean, it's probably not too bad of a hungover or a hangover, considering you spend $400 on alcohol per month. You probably have a pretty high tolerance at this point and probably know how to handle it. But anyway, he goes to his job, and I'm not going to say what his job is. It's not the same job I work with him on. It's like a totally different one. And I'm not going to say what job he does because I'm not trying to leak any of his personal info. But he ends up telling like a bunch of like people at his job what happened, and then they start making fun of him. And like the other people that they like monitor, because I can't like say what he does exactly, the people that they monitor start like looking at him, and he's just like, hey, do you like my haircut? And they look at his one good side and they're like, hey, that's not that bad of a haircut. That actually don't look too bad. Like, it doesn't really look like you got anything done. And then he turns his head and he's like, no, I meant this side. And then their eyes like start bubbling open, and they look like one of those like bobble-eyed like arts and craft projects with the big ass eyes, or like one of those anime girl eyes when they pop right open in shock, and they're just like, yeah, that looks good, that looks good. And then they like walk away, and then they're just like, what the fuck is he thinking? But look, even though he was like drunk and he's a moron altogether, even when he's sober, he's at least got enough common sense to realize like, hey, my hairstyle looks pretty shit and I probably shouldn't be doing that drunk. So he ends up getting a haircut from a pro a few weeks later, or not a few weeks later, like maybe 5 days later or whatever, whenever he was free. And this actually took place like 4 weeks ago, so I got to see his like new haircut, and he has like a mohawk, because the only way you can really even out like the damage done on the left side when you have like literal lines and and making yourself almost bald on one side is to kind of like get rid of all the hair on both sides besides like the middle and get that mohawk. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't look too bad. I wouldn't have realized he did that, to be honest. But yeah, I guess the lesson in this video is to just be mindful when you're like not sober, and probably stay away from a razor, just like how you probably should stay away from a gun or stay away from like sharp objects, and yeah, stuff like that. If you guys enjoyed the story, make sure you give me a like. This was I thought this was a funny story, honestly. And if you want more of these stories, then let me know. And yeah, I got a few more. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Take care.